As you may already know, I have a multitude of videos on how to train every aspect of training your dog to stay. In this video, I'm going to be going over the keys to success with training this behavior. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what you're seeing here. Teaching your dog to be calm around food. So I have hot dogs here, and I'm going to give her one like this, and then what will you see? That she isn't overexcited, frustrated, or stressing out because I haven't given her another one right after. A lot of trainers, especially positive reinforcement trainers, fall into the habit as soon as they have the food, they're excited about training and they're treating their dog, and what they create is a dog that gets really stressed out when they don't immediately get a treat after getting a treat. It's almost the same as taking a dog's food bowl away from them while they're eating. If they're used to getting a food bowl and then getting to eat it really quickly, it's as though you're feeding them and then taking it away, feeding them and then taking it away, and you can create a stressed out dog. So if your dog is stressed out or overexcited about food, I suggest first working on that before then teaching duration stay behaviors using food. So I will link in the description videos on teaching your dog to be calm around food, but also the settle. So I would first work on teaching your dog to settle, and the first step is that you have a one-off treat. Your dog is relaxing around the house. You have one treat in your hand. Maybe it's a very obvious treat like a milk bone, and then you go and you put it down, and then you show your dog, all done, that there are no more. And then you casually walk away and do something very non-training, and your dog will soon realize that after they ate the treat and there's no more crumbs left, they're not going to get any more, and there's not any frustration that, oh no, where's my next treat? Because this is a situation where you're just getting one, and then time passes and you might get another or you might not. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry about getting one. You don't need to worry about what to do to get one. You can just relax and it will come to you. So teaching that concept around food. Then you get a dog that's very calm and relaxed with a large duration of time between getting the treat. So this dog here is Wish. She actually has 2 world records, Guinness Book World Records, on speed. You would not believe it to look at her. Hey, Wishy girl. But she really loves petting, which she's asking for right now. But as you can see, she doesn't look very fast and excited, right? So you can train speed without having to build speed right from the start. So I suggest beginning all your training slow and calm, and then if you want speed for something, build it. So if you were going to be doing agility or something where you wanted a dog to do like a fast release from a active stay where like they're waiting at a start line, I would still begin with a calm stay first, so that they have that behavior under their belt before then building that anticipation in the behavior. The next tip is to remember that it's a behavior sequence. So the dog is doing multiple behaviors. They're moving into the position, they're staying in the position. What do you want them to be doing when they're staying in the position? And then they're being released from the position. Free! So I suggest as soon as you're getting the dog to stay in the position for 3 to 5 seconds, that you then start training the release cue as a behavior. So for her, the cue to get up casually and come towards me is free. And if she wasn't getting up as soon as I said free, I need to start encouraging her up. So if you have a dog that's really interested and excited about the concept, they've just figured out, she wants me to stay. Then you try to get your dog to come up and they're like, no, I don't want to, because this is where the treats happen. This is where the good stuff happens. Then you really need to start working on the release. Otherwise, it's going to be very confusing as to when the dog should get up. So I'm going to say the word that means get up, and if the dog doesn't, then I'm going to say pop, 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 and then lure them, run backwards, pat my legs, and then the moment the dog thinks to get up, I can mark it with a clicker or say yes or good, and then give a treat. So the dog starts to understand that they're waiting specifically in this behavior before the release cue. And then in the end, when you've worked a little bit more, you can start proofing the release cue so your dog doesn't think that other words or actions mean get up. Like if someone were to wave or make a kissy noise at your dog while they're waiting for you to release them. Hey, Wishy. Free. Good. Don't fall into the habit of giving your dog a treat after luring them into the position every single time and then adding duration to your stay, because what can happen is that that part of the picture becomes fixed. So if you lure your dog into the position and they get no treat, then they're going to say, hey, wait, I didn't get that initial treat. I don't understand what's going on. The picture's changed. And then they won't want to stay. So what you can do is lure them into the position, move the hand away, tell them they're good, and then go and give them the treat. And start doing that early on so the dog doesn't get dependent on that initial treat before the stay behavior. The next key to success is that when you make one thing harder, everything else gets easier. So when you read about adding distance, distraction, duration, it can seem very confusing and hard and scientific, but you just think to yourself, has my dog ever experienced this? Does he find it easy or hard? If he finds it hard and it's new, or it's simply new and you don't know, make everything else easier. So if you're working on a distraction, just work on the distraction with little duration and not at a distance. So everything's easy peasy. If you've never been far away from your dog, do it in a place where there's little distraction and don't do it for a long duration. And when you're working on duration, you might do it up close or at a distance that your dog is comfortable. Some dogs might get a little confused when you're up close because they think it's a training session. So you might do it where your dog is in a pen and you're working on them relaxing on a bed in a pen first before then asking for it in an obediency type behavior in a training session. The next tip is what to do if the dog gets up before you ask. I bet he's going to get up because I haven't worked on this very much with him because I very rarely need to use stay. So here we go. Bananas! Bananas! So he got up. So what I'm going to do is lure him back into the position. And because he's not really struggling, I'm going to make it a little bit easier before I give him the treat. So I'm going to take a step away, say bananas, come back and give him the treat. So if I had a clicker, I could click as I said bananas, but I can say bananas, good, and then come back, give him a treat, or say yes and give him a treat. Here we go, bananas. So this is adding a distraction. I'm also adding a little bit of distance. Bananas, good. And as you can see, he's learning, ooh, when that distraction happens, I stay and get a treat. You don't have to tell the dog they're wrong when they get up, because what can happen is they can start to connect that if there's a distraction, then the owner becomes punitive. So that can stress dogs out. You want your dog to be reinforced for seeing and hearing and smelling distractions and think, oh, this is reinforcing to stay in this position when these things happen, right? Yeah. So when I say, bananas, and I bend down and I go, hoo, 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 that it means the best thing to do is stay in position. Bananas, good job. And then after working on different distractions, don't forget to release your dog free so that they do get up and remember what their release cue is. So you really want to make sure that you're proofing the release cue with different situations, different distractions, and different words. So for distractions or proofing the release cue, you're feeding as the distraction happens at first, and then when the dog gets used to the same thing happening very predictably and easily, then you can start to delay it. So the dog sees the distraction or hears the distraction, there's some time between it, good, and then you can mark and reinforce. If you have a clicker, you can say frisbees and mark with the clicker as you say it and feed the treat. But if you're not using a clicker, you can just say frisbees and feed the dog at the same time. So San Francisco, good job. Fruit, frisbees, frosted wheat, frisbees, frosted wheat, free, free, good. So if he doesn't get up on free, I'm going to walk backwards and get him up. Frisbees. Fruit. Free. Good. He got it. He got it. Woohoo. Another thing to keep in mind, down. If you have a very big dog like this guy, that getting up takes a lot of energy. So a dog like this is going to find it really easy to stay relaxing. He just shook his head no. A dog like that is going to find it really easy to stay relaxing because they don't want to get up. But some a light little dog like a Chihuahua, it's going to be really easy for them to get up. So it's extremely important, especially with the bigger dogs, that you reinforce them frequently for the process of getting out of the down, because they're lifting a lot of weight to do that. Free. Good boy. Are you ready to train? Another tip for success is using a mat as a treat station. The beauty of using something like a mat or a station is the dog learns that that's where the treats happen. So when you move away and you're reinforcing, there's an aspect of reinforcement that's still near them, which is the platform, because they found it a secondary reinforcer to be on the platform. Free? You want to get to that point before you start utilizing it to train the stay. So first you train the platform, then you train the stay. So I'm going to put this over here, and you can see she will go and want to be on it. So that is going to help so much with adding distance when the dog is somewhere they want to be. Free? It also is a nice visual cue if you wanted to teach them to go out and stay somewhere. Free? Adding in some behaviors on a platform can also help with dogs who want to creep forward and get closer to you. So if they're used to being up and about while at a distance, that's going to make it way easier for them to stay at a distance when they're in a position and not want to come towards you. Good job. Free. Also, some little dogs find different types of surfaces extremely uncomfortable. So using something that the dog wants to be on at first to train the positions, especially always working on carpet or something that's non-slip like grass or an exercise mat, because what you don't want is working on a slippery floor, because the dog is going to start sitting and downing unnaturally because they won't have any traction, and what can happen is they can start to sit with their back legs out, or start to sit on their actual sitting bones with their back feet out like this. You can also have two cues for down. So a relaxed settle where the dog has flipped their hip and they can lay on their side or do whatever they like. Can you go on your side? Can you roll over? She said she wants to cover her nose while she does it. So they could lay on their side or flip their hips. And then an active down that has a different cue that you might be using for something active like obedience or agility or rally, or something where you want your dog to suddenly get up, get it, or for physical fitness or physical therapy where the dog is learning to stay perfect and symmetrical so that their body isn't going to get injured if they suddenly pop up, or if you're trying to get a beautiful, controlled, symmetrical movement on both sides of their body. Hey, Wishy. Good girl. So for her, I have the cue relax, relax, Wishy, and then she can lay however she wants in order to get the treat. And now she's laying like the lion down, but if she wanted, she could flip her hips. And you can just teach that by just casually luring them a little bit so that they're more comfortable, like that. If, say, they were sitting under the table at a cafe. Hey.